Good afternoon from the CBS News Los Angeles newsroom. I'm Mike Rogers. We're coming on right now to tell you about breaking news down at the UC Irvine campus, where protesters there who have been protesting for quite some time, weeks in fact, have now escalated the situation here. We've got SkyCal overhead right now. There is a very, very large police presence. This encampment has been here for quite some time, but today the encampment, or the people inside of the encampment, kind of took a day of action, they called it, demanding action from the UC regents that had a meeting today in Merced, as well as the UC Irvine administration. This all has to do with the crisis in Gaza and what people want the UC system to do, which is, according to them, divest and disclose financing related to Israel. Now, as you can see, SkyCal overhead, there are two law enforcement helicopters below, but we're coming around the physical sciences building, where we believe and we have heard protesters have been able to make their way inside of that building. You see some of them at the top right there. There's the encampment below, where you see those long messages coming off of the building there. Now, when SkyCal comes around a little bit more to the right, that building is blocking it right now, but you're going to see that they have also barricaded the stairs leading up to the building. Here is the massive law enforcement presence right now down there in Orange County. We've got UC Police, obviously they're the campus police there. There's Orange County Sheriff's Department down there, Newport Beach Police, Laguna Beach Police, Irvine Police, the California Highway Patrol. They have all been requested in kind of a mass amount here. This all kind of coming to a head within the last about hour or so. I've spoken with both the Irvine Police Department as well as the California Highway Patrol, who tells me that they have been requested. They're sending a large number of officers to the scene here. As you can see, we see some of them getting geared up in helmets, batons, you see right there, those officers. I'm going to ask our chopper photographer, John, to pan over to those stairs right now. I want to show our viewers where those stairs are and how they have been barricaded by those protesters that have then gone up into the physical sciences building. So there's where all the police department are staging, and then over to the right, that's the encampment. And as I was just mentioning, these are the stairs right here that we have watched as they have put tables, they've put coolers, they've put really anything they can kind of get their hands on right there. And you see the protesters wearing hard hats, they're wearing gas masks, handing each other umbrellas, which we have seen be used in the past to kind of deflect things that may be thrown at them by law enforcement, tear gas, rubber bullets, things like that. That's what they use those big umbrellas for. As you can see, a wider shot of the encampment as a whole. And again, this encampment has been here for quite some time. Now, a little bit further down from that encampment, you see this skirmish line that is being created by law enforcement. And what's interesting is it appears that the skirmish line is being held there to prevent these protesters from actually getting to the command post where the law enforcement have set themselves up. So you've got in the green there, that's the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and then the other uniforms there are the various law enforcement agencies. Now, above, they've also got the Orange County Sheriff's Department helicopter. They're doing low orbits, and then the California Highway Patrol helicopter is also overhead as well, trying to keep a broader eye on this situation. Obviously, since this is a state university, California Highway Patrol is a state agency and will have a large role in this. We also saw that at UCLA when that happened. Here again are some Highway Patrol officers right there. You see them getting geared up, putting some helmets on. You see the Orange County Sheriff's cars right there. And we see the Orange County Sheriff's Department as well, kind of getting geared up as well. There's Irvine Police Department down there. Now, those guys in the yellow, those were security guards from a private security company that we saw also at UCLA that were also kind of there just as a protection mechanism, but obviously when things turn into this kind of situation, they back out, and now you've got this large law enforcement presence. Now, in Irvine and all of really Orange County, they've got a mutual aid and automatic aid kind of situation set up here, where if they need anything from any other law enforcement, they will all come kind of in droves, which is exactly what we've seen here. As you see more and more students kind of come up to that police line, the police really only have a presence right there in that one corner. This is the primary area that they're looking at here, and you see that group of students again wearing those helmets and gas masks. They appear to have some fencing set up. Much of this, though, as we've been reporting, has been set up, days and weeks ago. This has been an encampment that's been here for quite some time. The new development today, though, is that we do believe that they have taken over that lecture hall right there on the right side of your screen, which, of course, is not something that the university, the law enforcement down there is, of course, wanting them to do or anything like that. Now, there is a lot of live video that is going on down there. You see that person with the megaphone as well that is making announcements. We did hear on one of the live videos, we did hear some sort of law enforcement personnel attempt to declare this an unlawful assembly, which is, of course, the first steps that law enforcement has to take before they can go in and really start to break up everything that's going on in here. And of course, it's not going to happen quickly. You're talking about a situation now where it's not only the open kind of encampment area, but there is the possibility that they have gained access into that lecture hall, which obviously is going to present law enforcement with a whole different set of challenges, a whole different situation here to try to go in there and be able to clear that building out as well. Now, the UC Irvine campus, there are not only protesters right now. We've seen a lot of students walking around. And in fact, in one of the buildings, I actually saw students looking out the window or looking on at what is going on down there. But you've got this group of protesters that really has kind of, taken things a little bit more further than they have been. And John, actually, as you look at those students right there, if we can go back up, I don't know if you saw on the roof there, there are actually some law enforcement officers on the roof as well, which is kind of new. That's something I've just seen as well. So obviously law enforcement now trying to get a better angle. And that's either a phone or a loudspeaker. It looks like a loudspeaker, John, I think, that they're going to try to make announcements on here. And you see that, yeah, that police officer plugging in the speaker there. And again, that's important because before law enforcement is legally allowed to go in and start, facilitating arrests or breaking up the group here, they have to give those protesters a lawful order to disperse, and they have to declare this an unlawful assembly, and they have to do it in a way that the protesters they're going to be sure that people heard it. You can't make an unlawful assembly announcement and not be sure that everybody heard it. So that's why they're obviously trying to get kind of to that higher ground there to be able to make that announcement. But as John pans around, there is just an immense amount of law enforcement that has showed up. When SkyCal first got overhead, we saw them really pulling in by the numbers here and kind of getting situated. And again, we're talking law enforcement from all over Orange County, including the Orange County Sheriff's Department, the California Highway Patrol, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach. We've seen them really come from all over Orange County to be able to handle this situation, which is not uncommon because of the mutual aid presence that they have going on down there in Orange County. And again, I want to recap, this all was supposed to happen around 1:30 this afternoon. The protesters down there were supposed to hold some sort of press conference. And again, they're demanding that the UC Regents, the UC system, do something about their donations or their alleged donations to Israel in the midst of the crisis going on in Gaza with the Israel and the Hamas war. Again, they were doing this today specifically because there was a UC Regents meeting in Merced that they were particularly interested in, and that's why they are doing this. Now, according to the group, they say they've been at this and active down there for at least a full 10 days. On the campus in the physical science quad, which is what you're looking at right now. That is where this encampment has been and has been for quite some time. UC Irvine, a lot of these universities have gone in and broken these encampments up. Of course, we saw that at USC. We saw that at UCLA. This is one of the ones that has lasted a little bit longer. We even saw down in Long Beach they were doing some stuff to that encampment. This is the one that has been down there for a while. And I believe, and I'll look this up, but I believe this is also the one where the Irvine mayor spoke out about the encampment at UCI. Saying that she hoped that that these guys essentially would be left alone and that there wouldn't be any large police response. She even cautioned people on the response of law enforcement when this encampment first happened. So obviously we're in a different situation now. Obviously things have gone from just being an encampment to the alleged kind of takeover of a building here, which is what has prompted this massive law enforcement presence. Now, there was also some information early on that the encampment, that some law enforcement had already tried to stop them from going into that building, that they had tried to kind of make that not happen, and they got overrun by the amount of people. Now, we are starting to see more of a skirmish line being set up. We had them kind of standing in that 4 group right there. Now you see them kind of lining the parking lot even more. But again, at this point, that is only to protect kind of their command post that they've got set up. That's not even getting anywhere close to where these protesters are. And you can see they're being swapped out here with the sheriff's department. Now, the other kind of situation, and you see off to the right of that shot, this is a mix of people. This is not only, the protesters, but these are all what appear to be, what I would assume are, minus the person carrying the flag there, students. You see people with backpacks. You see people kind of milling about. There's a couple kids with skateboards. So you're really going to get into a situation here with law enforcement where they're going to have to kind of balance how do we know who is who? How do we make sure that we get the right people out of there? UC Irvine has put out a message to students and faculty saying to stay away from the area as this all goes on. Of course, that does not appear to be what's happening from a lot of these students. There is what they call a ZOT alert. The university just issuing this 3:11 p.m. about half hour ago. saying the protest has escalated near Physical Science Quad. Avoid the area. They are asking people to shelter in place for your safety until further notice. And again, the UC Irvine website alerts that they are sending to students are calling this a violent protest. I do want to be clear, from our vantage point, we have not seen any violence at this point. We have seen them building those barricades. If, John, you can pan to the right, I want to show them those stairs again that have kind of been barricaded. A little hard to see from that shot, but right where that foldable table is, those are the stairs that go up there. And we watched as they kind of put that table there, put some other items in the way just to kind of barricade those stairs as much as they can. You see those pallets of wood that are also down there. And what now is starting to pop up, like I mentioned earlier, is these umbrellas, which again is a very common thing that we see in these protests. They are obviously trying to stop, anything that's going to get thrown their way. When we had this at UCLA, it was actually counter-protesters that were throwing things at them, and then eventually, law enforcement, when they finally moved in and broke up the encampment there. There's a better shot from John where you can see all of the stuff that's kind of in there. It looks like there's trash cans in there. I see coolers, the tables, and then you go up and you've got students, or protesters rather, sitting at the top of the balcony there, kind of just looking over and looking at things. Now, what we don't know is if how many people, if they in fact did make it into that lecture hall, we don't know how many people are in there. And then, John, if you can give me a little bit wider of a shot, I'm just trying to get a scope of the size of that lecture hall. And I do want to let our viewers know we are a little bit inhibited by the situation or by the situation of law enforcement helicopters above us. This is also very close to John Wayne Airport, so we can't always get kind of on top of the situation like we would usually be able to because of the law enforcement helicopters and because of the proximity to John Wayne Airport. So, but as you can see, it is a decent sized building. So if there are in fact protesters that have gone in there and maybe taken it over, it is going to take law enforcement, obviously some sort of tactical planning as well as time to be able to clear all of that out. There's a good shot of the encampment as a whole. You see all those tents, and you see up to the left there, and I can't tell, John, is that part of the encampment? No, there's like the wall right there. Okay, so it looks like on the outside of that, kind of on the top of the screen there, you've got, again, what appear to be probably a lot of just kids seeing what's going on, doing exactly the opposite of what UC Irvine has asked them to do, which is stay away from the area and shelter in place. Again, UC Irvine calling this a violent protest. We have not seen any violence as of yet. We do know that the law enforcement, Orange County Sheriff, a whole host of different Orange County law enforcement stations are down there right now, trying to come up with a plan and trying to figure out how exactly they're going to tackle this and how they're going to do that. And, it looks like we've got some more people. You see the American flag there, kind of beginning to, John's kind of talking to me here, and it looks like that crowd may not be taking too kindly to the guy in the black. And again, this is also what you start to see. Not only do we have the protesters, allegedly, doing things they're not supposed to do, but now you've got people that want to come out and counter what's going on. And here we are in a situation where now all of these people have surrounded this guy. You've got 4 people with flags kind of holding them up in the face of this guy as he tries to get whatever message he's got across, which is clearly not vibing well with the people that are already down there. So you start to get pockets of these situations, and that's kind of, ultimately what kind of sparked off UCLA, although UCLA was a little bit more coordinated effort, it appeared. But here we go, starting to get some pushing and shoving, and this is exactly what's going to cause problems. And we'll have to see, if this guy's going to kind of let it go and walk away, which it kind of appears that he is right now, which, really, as he goes behind that building, hopefully he is leaving the area, because that is obviously what we don't want, is we don't want that situation. Oh, here he comes right back in. So how is police going to handle this? Are they going to let this play out? It's only one guy, and so far we haven't really seen the, I wouldn't call it violence, a little bit of pushing and shoving that went on, but you do see some people that almost appear to be kind of trying to direct traffic a little bit there, keep the area open. This bizarre mix of, students with regular business there and this issue of, the protesters and all of that. Now, law enforcement, there you are, see them on the roof again there in the corner. We believe they're using a loudspeaker. And then as John pans down, law enforcement is kind of gathering with more force here as you see all of those Orange County Sheriff's deputies now standing there. And again, they're wearing the helmets. They've got their batons. You've got law enforcement agencies from other neighboring cities and neighboring areas, as well as the California Highway Patrol. And I can tell you this materialized much quicker than we have seen kind of at the other universities with the law enforcement really getting overhead, or getting in the area. We've got Orange County Sheriff's Department, Duke's helicopter. They are kind of down low dealing with this. And then you've got the California Highway Patrol that has another helicopter keeping eyes on things at a kind of a wider orbit there. And there's what we were talking about earlier. That's what those officers are bringing up that speaker to kind of make those announcements for the protesters. If they're going to make that unlawful assembly announcement, that's what they'll need to do it. Kind of a wider shot of campus here. You can see, most of the campus, of course, peaceful and calm, and it's just this one area and that physical science quad building that is really the problem right now, where you've got these protesters that, again, UC Irvine calling them violent protests. They say have been confirmed at or near the physical science lecture hall is what they're calling it. The only really, I don't even know if you would call it violence, but we did see a little bit of pushing and shoving with one guy in there who apparently had a different message. Now, there you are. Those are the kind of demands that they've been doing all up and down the state, all over the country, really, as universities have kind of been thrust into the spotlight of this war between, Israel and Hamas and the people of Gaza that a lot of people believe are being caught in the middle of this here. You see their demands. They say divest, disclose, delink, and reinvest. They want cops off campus there. You see number 6. Obviously, that is not what's going to happen today. The cops have been there, and they're there in force now. And you look down there, and you see kind of what has become of this encampment, and you see all those new sleeping bags and tents and coolers. People have been essentially living here. John, I want to go back down to the parking lot if we can really quick, because it looks like law enforcement, again, kind of bundling up another group there as they start to walk towards the campus. You've got them, kind of situated there, a couple of different groups. You've got this group that's walking towards those people in the tan uniforms. That's the California Highway Patrol that is getting in there. So obviously there is a very tactical situation down here. Orange County, one of the counties that we cannot hear at the desk. They are on encrypted radios to prevent anybody from hearing any of the communications that are going on down there. So from a tactical standpoint, we don't have a ton of information on exactly what they might be doing. But we do know, obviously, that they are there, and we do know that, obviously, they have requested a lot of mutual aid from the various law enforcement agencies down there in Orange County. Now, as this goes on, we are starting to see more and more people, and in fact, I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, there are more people on the perimeter of this encampment than there are even in the encampment. This has totally drawn a big spectacle here on the campus, and you can imagine why. I mean, not only do you have, there's television helicopters up there, you have 2 law enforcement helicopters that are flying relatively low, but you've got this massive contingency of cops that have now kind of swarmed the campus. And in addition to that, the UC University of Irvine is also putting out messaging, letting people know that there is an incident over there at the Physical Sciences Quad. They're actually asking people to stay away, which again has clearly not happened as more and more people kind of get into this area here to see exactly what is going on. And right now, 3:40 in the afternoon, the first alert from the UC Irvine campus came out at 2:53 this afternoon, and that is when they called this a violent protest. And right now, we are just seeing law enforcement really kind of start to mobilize, get situated here. And you can see they're slowly starting to kind of move over. Now, originally, they had their skirmish line just in the parking lot there. Now we see them slowly starting to move over. This is another really good shot. You see those 2 people there up on the balcony. And again, there looks like there's even a rope on the stairs, John. If we can pan to the right a little bit, I don't know exactly what they're doing with that, but it looks like it may just be trying to hold up, some of that stuff that they're using to barricade, trash cans, coolers, foldable tables, all kinds of different things that they are using. And I don't know, and I'd have to look at the campus. Let me see if I can look at a map. If there is a secondary entrance to the lecture hall, you would assume a building that size that there probably is. And if that is, barricaded as well, or, there's a good shot of that too, if those buildings are connected over there, or exactly if the protesters are trying to block off both of these entrances, just one of these entrances, or exactly what is their plan is. And really what their plan is altogether. Are they hoping that, if they sit there long enough that their demands will be met, or, that's the classroom building. So there's a difference there. That classroom building right there is obviously, there's Orange County Sheriff's Department's Duke helicopter flying through the shot there. This is the lecture hall that we're talking about right there. And then above that is the classroom building. So the lecture hall is the one where they are saying this protest has what they call become violent, and where we believe that there may be protesters that have gone inside of that lecture hall there. So that's where the area is focused on right now. And again, there's not a ton of actual protesters in the encampment anymore. So it makes you wonder how many of these protesters are inside of the building, if any at all. But, clearly things are escalating here. You've got these guys that have now locked arms. I will say, though, unlike at UCLA, along the kind of fence line of the encampment, you had a bunch of the protesters doing what we're doing here and locking arms and trying to block everything off. These guys have not really kind of formulated that. It doesn't appear that that's their primary interest here. You've got that smaller group that like I said, set up those umbrellas and all of that and all of those kinds of things. Juan Fernandez joining us here at the desk. The anchor desk. Juan, lots of law enforcement down there right now.
Yeah, no doubt, Mike. And we've been watching this unfold for the last few moments or so. And as you were saying earlier, this protest here at UC Irvine is one that we have seen at several universities here locally, USC, UCLA, and also around the country. Universities and protesters are asking them to divest any money, any donation to Israel to stop it, and they want the universities to be a little bit more transparent as to where any monies that go to Israel are going to. And just a short time ago, as you were saying, Mike, as you were reporting, something changed, right? This went from just an encampment, a protest where these students were allowed to stay on campus to is it on social media, Mike, where they're saying that this is now a violent protest?
Yeah, it's actually on the university's website. They've got an emergency alert listed here, and they are saying violent protest confirmed at or near the physical science lecture hall, which is where we've been looking at. And this is, again, the large contingency. And here is, thanks, Cal, for pulling this up, but here is the alert from UC Irvine that's saying protest has escalated near the physical science quad. Avoid the area. If you are in the area, shelter in place for your safety. And as we've been seeing from SkyCal, that is not what anybody has been doing. There are tons and tons of people that have really gathered around this one, more so than any protesters I've seen. It appears there are more people looking at what's going on than actual protesters that we've seen. And again, we can't see inside that lecture hall. We don't know how many people, if any, are in there. But you see the Orange County Sheriff's Department really starting to mobilize here.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right there, Mike. And on the right side of your screen, I believe, is this a live camera right now?
Yeah, it looks like we did dispatch our Michelle Geely down there. I don't know if this is her or a second photographer, but yeah, right up there against the police line. That's Irvine Police right there in the front. And like we were talking about, tons of mutual aid from Orange County.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, this happening on UC Irvine. We now have a ground crew on the scene right there. You can see the officers with their batons, the sheriff's department just behind them there. It looks like they may be preparing to go inside that lecture hall and break up what's going on inside. We still have no idea what's going on in there, but as you were saying, Mike, it looks like all the tents here are right around that lecture hall. They've started blocking the stairways up. You can see a lot of Palestinian flags there as well. And if we just, let's stay quiet for a second, maybe we can hear the camera that is there down on the ground. Oh, we don't have any sound from that. All right, well, you can see the protesters there with the Palestinian flag. They're making their voices heard. Obviously very upset over what's going on in Gaza as the conflict there continues now between Israel and Gaza as they try to oust Hamas from the area there. Mike was showing this shot just a little while ago, those students arm in arm there, just creating a human wall so that the law enforcement can get through. The umbrellas that we've seen at many of these protests as well. You know, Mike, what I'm curious about is, you know, who's in charge here? Who are these? What's the student leader? I mean, what changed all of a sudden, right?
Well, right, and you know, Juan, just really quickly, there was, you know, they put out the people that are, you know, the students that are running the protest here. They did put out a kind of press release, if you will, today, talking about how today was important to them because there was a UC Regents board meeting in Merced.
Okay.
And they, you know, wanted that opportunity for the Regents to talk about what's going on, and that is kind of what led to all of this. Now, whether or not they were unhappy about what happened at the Regents meeting or what exactly prompted them to, you know, take what action they did today is what we're still, you know, trying to exactly work out. But, you know, this was, I'm looking at a note from the 13th that the chancellor put out, just kind of talking about what they, you know, are doing. And according to the university on the 13th, it said the students that are in the encampment have said they will not rejoin the conversation with the university until we end the normal administrative enforcement of university policies, which the university says, hey, look, we can't just throw out all the rules here. That's not how this works. You guys need to come to the table and talk. And according to the university, the students said that they won't happen. Letters of suspension were sent out on May 8th for people that are involved in this. And the encampment has been here since April 29th.
And we know change is slow when it comes to the university systems. As you were saying, Mike, things just don't happen overnight. Demands aren't necessarily met right away. So this is a situation here that's been brewing over the last few weeks. And while USC calmed down and UCLA has calmed down, tonight the focus is on UC Irvine there, as you see a large presence of protesters as well as members of the Orange County Sheriff's Department, Irvine Police, all basically trying to figure out, I don't know if they have a student leader there that may be speaking with law enforcement to see if they can come up with an agreement here. But it seems like this lecture hall right now is the focus of all this. You can see the barricade that's up there by the stairwell. You can see the coolers and bags and all sorts of things that have been put in place there to prevent people from going up those stairs. And again, we don't know what's going on and gathered there to witness what's going on. The university put out an alert saying, hey, stay away from here. This is a violent protest for your own safety. Stay away. But I mean, right now from the crowd, it looks like the crowd is very peaceful. They're just kind of observing what's going on, right? And
if we can, in the booth, if we can take my computer, I have some pictures of what the lecture hall looks like on the inside, and I just kind of want to show people what kind of building we're talking about here. And you can see it is a typical college lecture hall. It is pretty big, but it also is a lot of room for people to be in. There's of course the technology that I'm sure people are concerned about, but these are some of the pictures that are on the UC Irvine website that just show what the inside of that lecture hall looks like. So I just kind of wanted to show people that picture. As you see now, Juan, a really large law enforcement contingency right here on the left side of the screen. And as we talked about, more people on the outside are watching this than we've seen actual even protesters. So I'm curious how many people are actually inside of the lecture hall and are not out here.
Yeah, and we're going to be checking the social media to see if anybody posts either videos or pictures of what's exactly going on inside that lecture hall at UC Irvine. You see a lot of students there milling around. They're on their cell phones. Others there, you can clearly see they are protesters there, pro-Palestinian protesters out there. And again, quite a large group that continues growing at this hour. And so much law enforcement now descending on UC Irvine, which they're basically pulling these officers out of the community, patrolling the community, just to kind of watch this basically standoff between law enforcement and protesters when it's basically the university that is what they want to talk to and make changes. So it's just one of these situations where it's very tense. It's very frustrating for people who just want to go about their day there at the university and just go to school and whatnot. And you can see here this protest that had been allowed to, this encampment that has been allowed to just stay in the area here has now continued to grow. We have SkyCal on the left side of your screen there. On the right side, we've got our ground camera going through the crowd there. As you can see, just the focus on that lecture hall right there at UC Irvine. Somebody there on the bullhorn chanting to the crowds there. And again, what do they want? They want these universities to stop any donations to any organization or company that would be focused in Israel. They want all that money to be stopped because they're obviously against what's going on right now in the Israel-Hamas conflict. And we're seeing, different members of the community here, students of all, ethnicities here coming together to protest what's going on. And Mike, would we know at all whether or not law enforcement is planning anything, or would they tell us?
Well, we've been in contact with a couple of them, and UCPD is the primary agency. They're the lead agency in this. It's their campus. Unlike some of the other campuses, like for example USC, the UC law enforcement, they are full-fledged sworn law enforcement officers. They have a badge, they have the peace powers, they have all of that. So because of that, they are the primary agency that is calling the shots here. But they have requested the mutual aid. So I've already talked to CHP, I've already talked to Irvine Police Department, and all they would be able to disclose to us is that they were requested by the university PD system and went, and that's what they did. And apparently, it sounds like they may have had some kind of heads up on this, heads up that they may be needed in this way, and they were kind of ready for all of that. As we kind of look in here at the square where these guys have been essentially living for the last several days, since April 29th is apparently when that encampment began. Not as, kind of large as some of the other ones that we have seen as you look at the Orange County Sheriff's helicopter fly through the shot there, but definitely enough to create some chaos here on campus today. And again, Juan, exactly what what pushed them to do what they've done today, or was it the UC Regents meeting that didn't go the way they wanted it to? All of that is still kind of unclear right now. And of course, we are on the outside, as you see those students right there, kind of looking at everything, now starting to stand. And it looks like if these are people that are starting to protest, they are definitely a bigger number than has been there. It looked like, before there was a lot more kind of students that were around that area, less protesters, but again, a large contingency of law enforcement officers, more on the standby there. So you would think that at some point somebody that gets paid a lot of money is making a decision on how they want to do this and how they want to go in, and if they want to try to talk to these guys before they go in and get them to come out. Although the university said on the 13th, a couple days ago, that the group was no longer willing to talk to them unless the university essentially threw out the rules, which the university says that, of course, they're not going to do that. Now, on the other side of that, if you ask the protesters, they, of course, are going to say that the university is unwilling to do what they want, unwilling to meet their demands, and they don't think that they should be punished for their freedom of expression. But as we have talked about over and over again, freedom of expression stops at a certain point. Your First Amendment rights don't carry through unilaterally. There are limits to it, and it looks like we may kind of be approaching that limit with this today. And
clearly, Mike, just in the 20 or so minutes that we've been on the air here, we have definitely seen that crowd of student protesters swell, and our ground camera definitely giving us a great vantage point as to what's going on there. There are people there right here with drums. There's the tents behind this young man there on the UC Irvine campus. And the campus letting people know, please stay away from this area. They're calling this a violent protest, yet we haven't seen any evidence of any violence happening here. But then again, we don't know exactly what's going on inside that lecture hall, whether or not they've had a chance to see what's going on there. And it seems like most of the protesters are outside. Once inside the lecture hall, they would be away from our cameras, right, Mike? So
right, 100%. And there was a portion of this. Again, they put out the first alert at 2:53 p.m., which is roughly around the same time where we started hearing of things, maybe a little bit before that. Yeah. So what we don't know is, was there a violent aspect of this that kicked this all off? There was, social media is all over the place, but there was some kind of chatter about law enforcement had tried to kind of slightly move in to stop them from going inside, and that didn't really work out. So I don't know if that's what the university is considering violent, if that is what, why they're kind of reacting to it this way. But clearly something escalated, something happened that prompted a really massive law enforcement presence. And one, before I think you got out here, we did see officers on the roof of the adjacent building setting up a speaker to possibly be able to give those dispersal orders, those unlawful assembly orders, which would have to be given. And there you go, John's looking at it right there on the left side of your screen. Those are the officers on the roof there that we saw setting up a speaker to give those unlawful assembly orders, which would then allow them to kind of move in and break this up if that's their plan, if that's what they want to do. But I do have to say, though, we've not seen, maybe they're doing it over the phone, but we've not seen any law enforcement go up to any of the protesters. It doesn't appear, at least from our vantage point, that there's been dialogue between protesters and law enforcement. But, again, there's so many different facets of this. They could be on the phone with somebody. It's kind of hard to tell. As you see our Michelle Geely there getting on scene now as well.
Yeah, we see her right there. You see her right in the middle of our shot here. She'll be able to speak to students and protesters here. And you were mentioning that time of 2:53, so we're now 1 hour in, so you can see how quickly the word can spread. These students also using social media to alert each other as to what's happening there on campus. And these all look like students, right? Yeah. The issue with UCLA and USC was whether outside protesters were coming in to mix in with these protesters. right now it just looks like, for the most part, it does look like these are UC Irvine students.
Yeah, at least from the exterior of the encampment. We don't know, if people have mixed in with the protesters on the inside there, but at least from the exterior. I would be remiss if I didn't point out how fast law enforcement got here compared to what we saw at UCLA. At UCLA, we saw violence for hours before we saw law enforcement get there. In this situation, if UC Irvine's calling it a violent protest at 2:53, less than an hour later, wow, look at that one. There are tons of people in the windows and on the balconies looking down at exactly what's going on. So, this is going to be challenging for law enforcement. They've got so many people that really are not connected to this at all that are now in the mix of this.
Yeah, and you also have to wonder, sundown will be happening in a few hours or so. If they can't wrap this up, the evening hours always feel a lot more tense, a lot more just worrisome for protesters and for law enforcement alike. It's difficult to see things in the darkness there, and you can see just the amount of people who are here on scene. And when we get to KCAL News at 4 o'clock coming up in just a few minutes or so, we'll hopefully have a chance to speak to our Michelle Gili, who's down there on the ground. And we're going to keep hearing the same stories we've heard with all these protests. These students want the university to become very clear, to let them know where any monies that may be going to Israel, if they're coming from the university, they want it stopped. I was watching one of these protesters as well say that they want police off campus, which obviously that's not going to be the case, what's happening there. And we're continuing to see Michelle make her way through the crowd there, just making it past those Orange County Sheriff's deputies. So a lot going on here, and we're going to continue monitoring this. If you're watching us on the stream, please turn to Channel 9, KCAL News at 4 o'clock, starting up just a few moments here. And we begin with breaking news here at 4. Police have been called in as a protest on the campus of UC Irvine has gotten out of hand.
SkyCal is over the scene now, and assignment editor Mike Rogers has the latest from the desk. Mike.
Yeah, Juan and Amy, we've been watching the situation for at least the last 40 minutes or so. 2:53 this afternoon, UC Irvine said this was a violent protest. What you're looking at here, the live pictures from SkyCal, as at the Physical Sciences quad, and what we believe inside the Physical Science lecture hall, as SkyCal zooms in there, is potentially a group of protesters that has made their way in. You see a group of them standing out here, helmets, gas masks, they've got umbrellas down there, which is common during these types of protests. And look right there, they have barricaded the stairwell up into that Physical Science lecture hall. You see a table, there's trash cans, a cooler, all kinds of different things, even a rope tying to hold it all together. And then you look up even further and you've got people, we've seen them standing there for a while now on the balcony. Now, again, UC Irvine calling this a violent protest. Since we have been here, we have not seen violence on the campus. Right. Doesn't mean that something didn't happen prior to our arrival, but since we have been here, we have not seen violence that UC Irvine is describing. In the parking lot here, massive amount of law enforcement. We've got UC Police Department. This is their jurisdiction, so they are here first, obviously. They've requested the help of the California Highway Patrol, the Orange County Sheriff's Department, Irvine Police Department, Newport Beach Police Department, Laguna Beach Police Department. Really, any law enforcement agency in Orange County is now has a presence here at the UC Irvine campus. And again, we've not seen them move in. We've seen them form these big tactical groups here. We've seen them set up kind of skirmish lines near their parking lot here. But as of this point, we have not seen them move onto the campus, onto the quad area rather. And I do want to ask John if he can pan up to that rooftop. We also saw officers on top of the roof here setting up what we believe to be a speaker so that they can, there you see them right there, so that they can give messaging to the protesters that are below, potential dispersal orders, things like that. Guys?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be in for a long night here on the campus of UC Irvine. Mike, thank you. And despite what you're seeing right here from SkyCal, protesters have been camped out for weeks now on UCI's campus.
Yeah, they've been negotiating their demands with university officials. KCAL News reporter Michelle Gili is live on the ground with the details on the tense situation. Michelle.
That's right. It was about 1:30 this afternoon when the news media was told to come to this encampment site here on the UC Irvine campus. This was the UCI Divest Coalition that was having an event. They called it a powerful gathering, and they were asking for students and community members to unite here on campus. They said the focal point of this event at 1:30 was to ask or demand that the university drop student suspensions related to the encampment. There was news several days ago that some of the students involved would be suspended, and also to divest from anything associated with Israel. Now, then about an hour later, and we were on another story in a different part of the county, I received a text from a different law enforcement agency indicating that there was now a multi-agency call out. And as we were driving on the 405 freeway, we were passed by dozens of law enforcement vehicles, lights and sirens, flashing, and they were speeding ahead to get to the campus. And here we are now. You can see the Orange County Sheriff's Department is here, Irvine Police. We've seen Los Alamitos, La Palma, Brea, Tustin. There are dozens and dozens of agencies here and officers. There are also hundreds of students here. Presumably these are UCI students who've gotten out of class or are making their way through campus. They've got their phones out, they're recording all of this. And just beyond where those deputies are is where the encampment is. And we made our way up there, but there's a blockade of students around the encampment, so we really couldn't get our way through. Now, I did just talk on the phone to one of the university spokespersons, and he said that he could not confirm whether any of the buildings here on campus have been occupied by the protesters. So we haven't been able to confirm that. And frankly, it's difficult to see because as you look up in the stairwells and up into the windows, you see all kinds of students. So it's unclear whether those kids, students have been in class and have come out to check this out, or they're on their way to class. There's just so much commotion around here that we haven't been able to sort it out yet. But it is peaceful, I'll tell you that. There are people waving flags, people with bullhorns, but we haven't seen anyone by any stretch being taken into custody or moved in one direction or another by law enforcement. And we're going to certainly continue to monitor all of this for you here at UCI.
All right, Michelle, we'll get back to you and Mike Rogers on the desk.